What if I told you a 500-year-old piece of gazelle skin completely broke our understanding of history? Today, we're decoding what's known as the Impossible Map. It's a document that baffled the world, launched some incredibly wild conspiracy theories, and literally rewrote cartographic history. So let's dive right in and separate the actual facts from the science fiction. For decades, there's been this single, explosive question fueling wild speculation. How exactly did a 16th century admiral map a continent hidden beneath miles of solid ice? I mean, think about it. How could a map drawn in the early 1500s allegedly show the precise subglacial topography of Antarctica, a place that wasn't officially discovered for another 3 centuries, and whose coastline has been buried under massive ice sheets for millions of years? The claims are undeniably suspenseful, but as you'll see, the actual truth behind this document is way more fascinating than the fiction. So, our story begins in Istanbul, back in 1929. During the conversion of the majestic Topkapi Palace into a museum, a German theologian was granted unprecedented access to its vast ancient libraries. And right there, sitting in a dusty, totally disregarded bundle, he unearthed a single gazelle skin map fragment, a fragment that would instantly send shockwaves through cartographic history. Part 1. The Topkapi Palace Mystery. Let's look at the physical reality of this thing. What we have here is actually only the western third of what was once a massive, magnificent world map. It's what's known as a portolan chart. This means it relies on compass roses and a wind rose network, allowing sailors to navigate by line of sight and heading rather than using modern latitude grids. But what made it instantly controversial? Well, it's drawn with astonishing detail of the South American coastline for the year 1513. And there's a huge, mysterious landmass sprawling all across the South that absolutely shouldn't have been known at the time. Section 2, Alien Tech or Ancient Kings. Almost immediately, that mysterious southern landmass gave birth to some pretty sensational fringe theories. By the 1960s, a historian named Charles Hapgood popularized this breathtaking idea. He claimed the map showed Antarctica exactly as it looked during the Neolithic period, completely free of glacial ice. He argued that the cartographic accuracy was just so anomalous, so perfectly aligned with modern subglacial topography, that there's absolutely no way it could have been surveyed by 16th century sailors. According to him, it had to be the work of an advanced, undiscovered pre-classical civilization, people he called the ancient Sea Kings. You know, this really illustrates how a myth can just spiral out of control. Hapgood's theory actually relied on an engineer named Arlington H. Mallory, who essentially warped the map's coordinates using a custom grid just to force a fit with the Antarctic coast. And it didn't stop there. Soon after, conspiracy theorist Erich von Däniken took it a massive step further, claiming the map was created using extraterrestrial technology. Yeah, aliens. They deliberately ignored the actual historical context and the text written right there on the parchment just to force a juicy mystery. Section 3. The Master Cartographer. To really understand this map, we have to shift our focus away from the aliens and look at the calm, authoritative facts about its genius creator. The mapmaker was Piri Reis, a former Barbary pirate who became an official Ottoman Navy admiral. His timeline is fascinating. Back in 1501, during a naval battle, he captured a Spanish sailor who happened to be carrying incredibly rare early maps of the Americas. A decade later, Piri retired to Gallipoli to masterfully synthesize all this global intelligence, eventually completing his gazelle skin manuscript in 1513 and presenting it to the Ottoman Sultan in 1517. So, how did he actually build this masterpiece? Well, according to his very own marginal notes, written right there in Ottoman Turkish, he didn't use alien spaceships. He compiled his map from roughly 20 older source maps. Some of these were contemporary Portuguese and Spanish sea charts, sure, but others dated all the way back to the era of Ptolemy and Alexander the Great. Piri Reis was quite simply a master synthesizer of intelligence. Section 4. The Lost Map of Columbus. The true historical treasure hidden within this parchment has absolutely nothing to do with Antarctica. In the margins, Piri Reis wrote some incredible inscriptions. One of them explicitly mentions a book that fell into the hands of a Genoese infidel named Columbus, describing lands at the end of the Western Sea. This tells us straight up exactly what Piri Reis was using as his primary source for the Caribbean section of his map. He had likely seized it from that captured Spanish sailor. And here is why that is an absolutely massive deal. Christopher Columbus's personal maps and archives, they are completely lost to history. They've never been found. Because of that, this 1513 Ottoman chart is the only known surviving fragment that contains a partial copy of Columbus's lost maps. It is literally our only visual record of his geographic vision. If we analyze the map's level of accuracy, a really stark contrast emerges. The South American coast is highly detailed and pretty accurate, relying heavily on recent Portuguese voyages with minimal Columbus influence. But the Caribbean? It's strangely organized. Most tellingly, Cuba is drawn physically attached to the Asian mainland. Why? Well, because Columbus erroneously believed he had found Asia. Piri Reis copied Columbus's flawed navigation exactly. And that perfectly debunks any claims of flawless ancient or alien technology.
Part 5. Debunking the Antarctica Myth.
Let's directly dismantle that lingering myth of the ice-free Antarctic coastline using some basic logic and modern science. When we juxtapose the sensationalized fringe theory against actual historical cartography, those ancient sea king claims quickly fell apart. The map doesn't show a subglacial Antarctica at all. It depicts a mythological, balancing continent drawn to fit the standard geographic assumptions of the 16th century. That concept was known as Terra Australis. Early geographers had this belief that the massive continents in the northern hemisphere had to be physically balanced by an equally large landmass in the south. Otherwise, they thought, the Earth would literally tip over in the cosmos. Piri Reis, just like nearly every other mapmaker from the 1400s well into the 1700s, was simply drawing this hypothetical balancing continent. It just happened to be placed roughly where Antarctica was later discovered. And hard science completely backs this up. Geologists point out that Hapgood's fringe theory ignored something called post-glacial isostatic rebound. Basically, if Antarctica's massive, heavy ice sheets melted, the land underneath would literally rise up and change shape. So an ancient ice-free Antarctica wouldn't look anything like today's subglacial readings anyway. On top of that, modern data shows zero similarities here. Ultimately, that southern coast on the map, it's most likely just an eastward curve of South America, drawn that way simply to fit the physical shape of the animal skin it was painted on.
Section 6. The True Historical Marvel.
Stripped of all the pseudoscience, this map reveals its true significance as a marvel of the early age of discovery. It is a brilliant, multicultural masterpiece of synthesis. Piri Reis broke away from the medieval Islamic idea of an impassable encircling ocean. Instead, he beautifully incorporated the colorful Islamic miniature tradition, drawing mythical creatures and legends, while simultaneously integrating shocking, brand new foreign discoveries. It acts as an incredible bridge between deeply held traditional Islamic worldviews and the disruptive new era of European exploration. And to make these new, terrifying discoveries acceptable to his Ottoman superiors, Piri Reis used some brilliant rhetorical strategies. In his notes, he described his world maps as being based on charts drawn in the days of Alexander. By doing this, he reframed these novel European discoveries. They weren't a threat, they were simply the recovery of ancient, classical knowledge that already belonged to the wider world. This explainer proves that the reality of our past is always richer and honestly far more complex than the fiction. The true magic of the Piri Reis map doesn't require ancient sea kings or aliens. It's about the collision of empires and the relentless human drive to map the unknown. It leaves us with a really thrilling question to ponder. If a 1513 map could accidentally birth modern myths of aliens and ancient kings, what other undiscovered truths are still hiding in the dark archives of history, just waiting to be correctly understood?